Hello friends, welcome to your easy guide to English section, and today we are going to do this small four-letter word, that is verb. While it seems a small word, it's mighty in action. Just try to think of your day. Everything that you do in your day. You speak, you talk, you sleep, you study, you text, you walk. All these words that are reflecting any action that you do during your day are verb. So you cannot describe your day, or you cannot really speak 2 3 sentences without verb. Like you cannot meaningfully speak in like word challenge. I'm sure you'll be able to do it. But verb are the words that do the action in a statement. So they are like a fuel to the car. Without the fuel, the car might look beautiful lying in your garage, but I mean standing in your garage. But with the fuel, it gets the energy. So verb are like that engine in English grammar. Okay. Now let's see how do we define the word verb. So it's a word that is used to tell something about a person or a thing. And what is that something? It tells what a person or a thing does. For example, she teaches in our school. So she teaches. He often visited his village. So visited. So what he or she does. Then what is done to a person or a thing? So he was punished. What was done to him? Punishment was given to him. So was punished is a verb. Shikha was taught a lesson. What was done to Shikha? She was taught a lesson. So was taught is a verb here. What a person or thing is, that's also described by a word. So she is pretty village girl. So is here is a verb. My brother is a chemist. So is here is a verb because this is telling us what the person is. Okay. We'll try to understand this in more detail by understanding various classes of verb. So there are two broad categories of verb, that is auxiliary verb and the ordinary or regular verb. So auxiliary verbs are the helping verbs. They are like is, am, are, was, were, do, does, has, have, will, shall, etc. So they are sort of helping the main verb. And what are the main verbs? They are obviously the ordinary or the regular verbs. So these are two classes of verb. That is, based on the functions, we can categorize them in auxiliary verb and main verbs. And the main verbs are the ones that are doing the action. They are play, run, read, write, etc. So, like I said, they are helping verb. For example, they also show the tense, the voice, the possibility that is there in a statement. So the examples of auxiliary verb as we've discussed is am, are, was, were, has, have, had, will, shall, do, does, did, can, may, must, should. These are all auxiliary verbs. They are helping the action verb. So she is eating. So the is here is an auxiliary verb which is helping the main verb eating. He has finished his work. So has is helping the main verb finish. Okay. So they will go tomorrow. Will is the auxiliary verb which is helping the main verb go in the statement. Okay, so these are auxiliary. They're also called helping verb because they help. Very helpful verbs here. The second is auxiliary verb the ordinary verb or the main action verb. These verbs show the main action or the state in the sentence. For example, to work, to play, to write, to eat, to sing. So these are all telling you some sort of action that is going on or what is the state of the verb or the state in which the subject of that statement is. For example, she runs fast. So the action of running is good being shown here. They played football. Again, the action of playing is shown here. I sleep at 10. So the action of sleeping or the state of sleeping is shown here. So these are all main action verbs or the ordinary verbs. So if it's doing all the work itself, it's an ordinary or main verb. There are also another two types of verbs that are finite verb and non-finite verb. So the finite verb are the verbs that change according to the subject. That is who's doing the action and the tense when the action happens. For example, she likes ice cream. Here, she is singular, so we use the verb likes. Then they like ice cream. Plural, they like. Likes become like. He went home. So with the tense, it becomes went. So if the word is changing with the subject or the tense, it is finite verb. That is, it is fixed by tense and the subject. So finite verb is like match fixing kind of thing. If the tense and subject change, it changes. Okay. So that's finite verb for you. Now the okay, so there are two categories of finite verb also. Let's quickly understand transitive and intransitive. So transitive verbs are the verbs that need an object. For example, narrated. So the narration of a story cannot be done without the one who is narrating and the one who is listening. Because the word narration itself shows that there has to be an object of narration. Similarly, the word teaching. So one is teaching and somebody is receiving it. Some object should be there at the receiving it. These are the transitive verbs. The intransitive verbs are the what? As the name suggests, it should not have an object that is receiving it. So, for example, the word cried, came. There is no object needed. Somebody can just cry alone. No need of an object. Somebody can just come and go alone. No need of an object. So she narrated the story. She teaches me. These are the examples of transitive verb. And she cried a lot. She came on time. These are the examples of intransitive verbs. So these are the two categories of finite verbs. Finite verbs are the verbs that change with subject and the tense. Now, non-finite. So they do not change with substance or the tense. Non itself should tell you that, okay, they are very firm and they are not going to change. So they are not limited by person or number. They are used without worrying about who is doing the action. And there are three types of non-finite verbs. That is infinitive, gerund, and participles. And these are the verbs that take form of different things. These are verb forms that take different roles. Sometimes they take role of noun or adjective or non-adjective and adverb. So we will just see what these are. So it's very easy to identify them. So first category, infinitive. So if you see the word to attached to the verb, it's an infinitive. It doesn't show tense or subject because of course it's a non-finite word. It is used as a noun or adjective or an adverb in a sentence. Let's see how it works. So he wants to eat. They want to eat. I wanted to eat. Now we see that there are singular, plural, or tense is changing, but the infinitive to plus verb, to eat, to eat, to eat remains the same in all the three statements. So the word to eat stays the same in all cases. So what do I want to eat? So the answer is given by what do I want? Sorry, what do I want? If you ask this question, the answer is given by to eat. So it is acting as the object of the verb want. So it's a noun here. Okay, similarly, if we think of a sentence, he came to study. Why did he come? To study. So to study tells us the reason. So it's acting as an adverb here. So to study, to eat, to play, all these infinitives, they stay the same. They do not change with the verb. They do not change with the tense or the subject, but they stay the same. But they sometimes play the role of a noun, of an adjective, or an adverb. But they stay the same. So if you see 2 plus verb, it's an infinitive. Okay. Now, gerund. So gerund, how do you identify a gerund? It's a verb plus ing form. It is used as a noun, but it is not showing action. For example, swimming is my hobby. Now, the act of swimming is not happening at this point, but it is the subject of the statement. Swimming as an activity is being used here. It's just the subject of the statement. I'm just telling that this is my hobby. So the action is not happening here, but this action word is so acting as a noun. Similarly, I like dancing. So the act of dancing is not happening in this statement, but it is acting as a noun. So verb plus ing form, again, it's a gerund. Similarly, reading helps you learn. The act of reading is not happening at this point, but reading is the verb plus ing form, a gerund statement. Here it is acting as a noun, the subject of this statement. The third category, participle. So a verb form used as an adjective or a part of word phrases. These are the participles. Now there can be two types of participle. Present participle, that is verb plus ing, which is describing something. Again, past participle, that is verb in third form, which is describing something. You'll understand better with an example. For example, the crying baby needs milk. Now here crying is describing the nature of baby. The act of crying is not happening here, but it is describing the nature of baby. So the crying baby needs milk. So if somebody is pointing at the crying baby, okay, that crying baby. So the person is not really, the crying here is not really showing the activity, but it's an identification of the baby. So it's describing the baby. Similarly, the broken chair was thrown away. So here the verb broken is a participle because it is describing the chair, the broken chair. Which chair? The broken chair. So here the act of breaking is not happening, but the broken here is describing the chair. So it's a participle. So we've understood the three forms of non-finite. Non-finite are the fixed. are the assertive ones. They do not change with the subject or the tense. They stay same. There are three types of it. To plus verb, that is infinitive. Verb plus ing, that is gerund. And then verb plus ing or verb in third form, which is describing something. That is participle. Okay. Now, here is a summary of what we have read. Just after you understand the rules, just go through the summary and see. It will help you in revising. So, give it a try. For the again, highlight non transitive, intransitive. Now, I hope we've understood what verbs are and we've seen verbs from different angles. Now, let's get to the rules. So, the first rule is when two subjects are joined by a certain phrase. Some of the phrase, this is what we're going to talk about. So, some phrases look like they're joining two people or things, but actually the verb only follows the first subject. So, what this rule is trying to say that there are certain phrases like as well as, like, unlike, besides, in addition to, with, together with, along with, and not, rather than, no less than, except, nothing but, more than one. Now, these phrases you have to keep in mind. So, these phrases feel like they are joining two clauses, but you have to understand the verb will be followed by the subject that is closer to it. I'll give you an example. The director as well as the dancers were honored. Here the word verb is wrong. Why? Because it looks like as well as is joining the director part and the dancers part, but it is not really putting both the sides at equal footing. Here the main subject is director only. So the verb will be following the first part. That is the director. So if the director is in singular, the verb will also be in singular. So the director as well as the dancers was honored. So while the second verb shows dancers in plural, we will follow the first part of it. Only look at the first part of it. Okay. Similarly, the mother and not her children have been arrested. Here the word have is incorrect because the first part, that is the mother, she is the main subject of the statement, and hence we'll follow the verb according to that. So the singular verb will be followed. The mother and not her children has been arrested. So if you look at all these phrases, no, they do not put both sides at equal footing as well as. So this shows that the first part is the primary subject and the other is just like that one. So the first becomes more important. No, the second is just copying it as well as. Similarly, like. So first part is the one and the like shows that like this. So copying, sort of copying it. Similar is the case with unlike. Similarly with besides, that this is there, but besides this. So obviously, if you try to understand each of these phrases make one subject more important than the second subject. And that is why the verb follows the first and the primary subject. That is why if the primary subject is singular, the verb will also be singular. I hope you understand that, because we have more of such rules. It is important to understand these phrases. Otherwise, you'll get very confused. In the following rules. Similarly, another example is there. More men than one were absent yesterday. Now here, since more men is there, men itself is plural. That is why the word were, the verb were here is correct. More men than one were absent yesterday. Similarly, nothing but truth is impossible, is immortal. So here, truth is the main subject and truth is singular. So truth ke saath we follow singular verb. Okay. So always look at the first noun before the above phrases that are given here. The verb should match the first noun and not the one that is after the phrases. Okay. So just keep in mind, just see what these phrases are doing. Nothing but they are giving importance to the first subject. And that is why this rule, that when you see these phrases, they are not joining both parts at equal footing. They are giving more importance to the first subject. And hence, the verb will follow the first subject. Okay? I hope you remember this, because now this rule might confuse you a bit. Here, this second part of the rule says, when two subjects are joined using pairs like not only but also, neither nor, either or, none but, the verb agrees with the subject that is closest to it. Did I say this line for the first one? If I did, I'm really sorry. Okay. So when you see a pair, you can see that both sides of the sentences will be pretty much at equal footing. This is how you can remember. It's not necessary, but this is how you can remember. Not only, but also. This shows that not only first part of the sentence, but also second. So this phrase is giving importance to both sides. And hence, in this case, we go with the proximity rule. We follow the verb according to the closer subject. Okay, so neither nor. Here again, neither this nor that. That means both part of the statement have been given equal footing. So in this case, the subject that is closer will be determining the verb. Now let's look at some examples. Neither the students nor their guide were found. Now here you cannot say that, okay, we'll follow the first part. No, because neither the students nor their guide, both are being talked about. Both are important. So in this case, we'll follow the proximity rule. We'll follow the subject that is closer. So the guide was found because the guide is in singular. So we use was and not were. Neither the students nor their guide was found. So this is correct. None but the leaders is responsible. But here this leaders is closer and that is in plural. So none but the leaders are responsible. So here again, we'll follow the subject that is closer because both clauses are at equal footing. Both subjects are at equal footing. One or two books are needed because books is a plural and that is the closer subject. I or he is to be rewarded. Again, here he is closer and he is singular, so we follow the singular verb. Am I or he to be rewarded? Again, he is closer, so am I or he? I is closer, so am is used. Okay, so I'm sorry, my bad. Where the am is the verb, and so I is closer, so am is used. So am I or he to be? Okay. Now, 2003. Another part of it is use of words like neither, either, none, each, every, or anyone. Now, when these verbs come at the beginning, they act as singular subject. So a singular verb has to be followed. So remember, neither, either, none, anyone, each, everyone. So with them, you will use he, she, it type of word because they are singular. So neither of the two boys have done it. No, the neither of the two boys has done it. Here, since it is at the starting, so the singular will be followed. Each of the students is obedient. So each of the students are obedient would be incorrect. Either of us has done his work. Either is one person, so hence us. So either, neither, each, every, these are the words you should be very mindful of. This kind of rules will be there in all the parts of speech because these words, they sort of divide. They point to one in many. So at one point, they are pointing to one only. So while it looks like they are referring to many, but they are actually referring to one in many. So they are referring to one in many. So either, neither, each, every, they always follow the singular word. So similarly, every boy and every girl has been invited and not have been invited. While it seems like there's a boy, there are girls, so it might be girl, but no, every boy and every girl. So whenever you see either, neither, every, each, these will also be followed by singular verb. Okay. Now, use of none. If none is used with countable nouns like boys, girls, something that they count, they can be either singular or plural, depending on the nouns. If none is used with uncountable nouns like work or water, then a singular word will be following. For example, none of the boys has or have done the homework. Here, boys is countable noun, so both can be there. None of the boys has done their homework. None of the boys have done their homework. Okay? None of the work is completed. Now, work here is uncountable now, so none of the work is completed. Like the rule said, we'll follow it with a singular verb. Fair enough, it's quite simple. Now, when each comes after the subject, use a plural. So, when each is in the starting, then we are clear, we'll follow it with the singular verb. But when each is after the subject, for example, we each have taken our bag. So, it's followed by we. So, we will follow it with plural verb. So, we each have taken our bags. Subject is we, so here the verb is have. They each are honest. Again, it is followed by the subject. Each is followed by the subject. So we'll take a plural verb. So be mindful of each. It's more important. I mean, more often than not, the questions are asked from the each being the starting point. But this can also be a problematic situation if each is given with after the subject. So it will be followed by a plural. Okay. So here is a summary. Each at the starting, each after the subject, none with countable noun, none with uncountable noun, either, neither, and either or neither marks. Okay. So what are the verb type to be followed and what some of the examples for you to learn. Now, let's do some practice exercise. And as I've told before, you will try to attempt first on your own and then we'll solve it together. So I'll pause the statement, pause the video and try to attempt. Okay, again, pause the video and try to do the questions. Pause the video and try to do these questions. Okay. Let's go. So neither of the players dash fit to play the match. So what will be the answer here? Neither of the players is fit to play the match. Each of the girls received a prize. So again, each is in the starting and not after the subject. So each of the girls each of the girls has received a prize. None of the water is uncountable, so singular. None of the water is spilled. Every student and every teacher was present at the event because every again is pointing to one at a time. So what's option C? Option C, right. Either Ravi or his brothers completed the project. So either or and either. There are two situations. So what was the case with either or? Either Ravi or his brothers have completed the project. I also get confused. None of the answers dash correct. None of the answers are correct. Okay, because after none, the answer is countable. So the singular or plural both can follow. Here, were is not there, so are correct. They each dash submitted their documents. They each have submitted their documents. Because each is followed by the subject they, so we'll go for plural. Either of the roads dash belong. Either of the roads is no, because either is pointing at one at a time, so it is followed by singular. That's correct. It's correct. None but the brave dash rewarded. Okay, this one is a tricky question. So the brave here is the brave people. So some of you might think that the brave is uncountable noun and you might go for the singular. But here the brave is used in a way that it refers to the brave people. So here none but the brave were. So it will be treated as countable. So none but the brave are rewarded. So the plural will be followed. Okay. Yeah. So I also got confused for this one. So this has been a question in some exam. So be mindful that in the adjectives, I'll explain this concept of the brave or the rich. They representing a category. So the brave here is used in the sense of the brave people. So that's why it becomes countable noun, and hence the rule of plural will be followed. Now, the rule 3. The rule 3 talks about singular verb with plural nouns of measurement and time. So when plural looking words like miles, rupees, hours, years, kilos, liters, etc., we are talking about a total amount or one complete unit. The word will be singular. So by this, by now you might be getting a sense when we are referring to one single unit, even if it comprises of many units, the verb will be singular. This is the mota broad sense that you should have. So if the sentence talks about total amount as one thing, then it will be followed by a singular verb is or was. For example, 4 miles are not a long distance. This is wrong because we're talking about 4 miles together. We are not referring to each mile in this whole 4 mile thing. So here this whole distance is being talked about. 4 miles is not a long distance. So it will be followed by is and not are. 4 mile as one full distance is being discussed, and we are not referring to or thinking about each mile. When you hear the statement, you think of 4 mile, and you'll be at the end of the 4 mile. The 4 mile is a long distance. You worked it, okay, this is a long distance. You're not referring to each miles here. Similarly, 200 rupees was a large amount. Here, you're not referring to each rupee note or anything. You're just talking about the whole amount. This whole amount is large amount. So that is why this will be followed by a singular verb was and not were. So 200 rupees, one total sum of money. Now, some examples where we are referring to the measurements and time, but we are like referring to the individual of them, and then the plural words will follow. For example, 50 eggs were broken during the transport. Now we are referring to like 1 egg broke, 2 egg broke, 3. So we are like imagining each egg breaking. So each breaking of each egg has an impact on this whole number of 50 eggs. So 50 separate items, and hence the verb following this will be plural. The 50 eggs were broken and not was broken. Okay. Similarly, 5 bottles of juice were spilled on the floor. Here, each and every bottle of juice spilling is having an impact on the statement. So 5 bottles of juice, first bottle, second bottle, third bottle. So 5 bottles of juice were spilled on the floor. So when individual item comes in the mind, then the word, then you think of many things. Then it looks like you have in your mind, it can picture many things, and hence plural noun, so plural verb. And when you're talking about it as a single unit, so singular noun, singular verb. Okay. So amount as 1 singular verb, that is 100 rupees is not enough. Specific items, things not as total, then plural verb. 100 rupees notes were scattered on the floors. Here the sense is of notes. So total 100 rupees, but different notes were scattered on the floor. So verb. Okay. Now let's quickly do this exercise. Pause the video and do the questions on your own. I'll pause for a few seconds. Again, pause the video and do these questions on your own. Again, pause the video and do these questions on your own. Okay, let's do this now together. 5 years dash a long time to wait for a reply. Now, when you think of it, you're not thinking of each year. You're thinking of 5 whole year. This is talking about this big chunk of years. 5 whole year is a long time to wait for a reply. 200 rupees dash a big amount in the 1960s. So was a big amount, because we're talking about this whole amount, this whole chunk of money that was, its representation in 1960s. So it was a big amount in 1960s. Singular verb. 10 liters of milk dash required for the recipe. 10 liters of milk is required for the recipe. So again, here we are referring to the whole amount of milk at one point, and we're not thinking about 1 liter here, 2 liter here. This chunk of milk in a one container, 10 liters, is required for the recipe. So is singular verb. 4 miles dash a short walk for a soldier. Again, you're talking about this whole distance, this whole chunk in one unit. So 4 miles is a short walk for a soldier. 2 hours dash enough to complete the paper. 2 hours are enough to complete the paper. Again, we're talking about this whole chunk. We're not talking about half or then another half, or we're not individualizing the minutes or hours and things like that. 50,000 rupees spent on furniture. 50,000 rupees were spent on 50,000 rupees was spent on furniture, because again we're talking about this whole chunk. Itna paisa check kaat ke give it. So yeah, whatever, check cash. But the thing is, this whole one amount was spent on furniture. So was spent on furniture. Okay. So you have to be mindful that whenever you see measurement in terms of number or time, just become mindful of the purpose of how it has been used in the statement. Otherwise, it can get very confusing. 10 kilos of rice stored in the containers. If you picture it, you see one container. So you can just scratch it as one unit. So is stored in the container. Some 20 rupees notes dash lying on the floor. Now you're thinking about different notes. Some 20 rupees notes. So there are many 20 rupees notes. So individual notes we can picture. So some 20 rupees notes were lying on the floor. 5 kilometers dash a good distance to jog in. Again, talk about one chunk of distance. So 5 kilometers is a good distance to jog in. I hope this is clear enough. Now, read forward. Use of many and many than, more than one. So with many or many and, always follow it with, they are always followed by singular noun and they take a singular verb. Although it looks plural because the word many is there, but you don't have to be confused by it. It should always be followed by a singular verb. So many a student has failed this test, or many a student have failed this test would be wrong, because many are or many and, depending on the vowel, is to be followed by a singular verb. Similarly, more than one, again, more than one itself, it feels like plural, it will always be followed by singular verb. That is why it's a different category of rule. More than one man was absent. More than one man were absent. So many or you just have to remember this many or and or more than one. Many or more than one. They look plural, but they are followed by singular. Because again, many or we are just referring to one of the many instances. So it's like that, if you can imagine it. Otherwise, now there's an exception that when the sentence itself is using the plural, for example, more men than one. So here men is there. So it's the plural men will make the verb also following verb also plural. So more men than one were injured. So just see to it that many are student. Here student is in singular. So that is why the following verb is singular. More than one man. So one man is singular. But here the noun has also become plural. So hence the following verb also becomes plural. So even if many are or more than are is there, just see the noun that is present there is singular or plural. So that should be taken care of. But many are, do not be confused with many or and more. Many and more do not impact the singularity or plurality of the sentence. Okay. Now let's do the practice exercise. It's very simple. Just pause and do it. Pause and do it quickly. Pause and do it quickly. Okay, now let's read it again. Many a soldier dash fought bravely in the war. So many a soldier, again, many a is always singular, soldier is always singular. Many a soldier has fought bravely in the war. More than one student, more than is always singular, one student singular. More than one student has failed in the exam. Many an artist dash performed at the concert. Many an artist is also singular. Many an artist has performed at the concert. Say it one. More than one car dash parked outside. More than one car was parked outside. Again, one car, more singular. Many a book dash been written on this subject. Many a book has been written on this subject. So again, singular, many are not singular anyway. So has. Many a girl dash applied for the scholarship. Many are singular, girl singular, so has applied for the scholarship. More men than one killed in the fire. Now here, more is there, which is followed by singular, but since men itself is in plural, so we will have to follow the plural verb. So more men than one were killed in the fire. Many an accident dash occurred on this phone. So many an accident, again, singular accident, many should not be confusing you. Many an accident has occurred on this phone. More than one question. So again, one question and more will be followed by singular. So more than one question was asked by yeah, here's the solution. Now we have reached the rule 5. So when one sentence has two parts, it's called clauses. It is joined by and but and etc. Words like these. The verb in the both parts are different in form, tense, and number or voice. Then you must mention each word separately. One word cannot work for both the clauses if the word forms are different. Now let's first look at the example and then we'll understand it better. So here are two possibilities. There are two sentences being joined by and or but. So we have to look at the words in both the sentences. Are both the sentences being referred to the same action or not? And based on that, we'll choose the verb. So, for example, she cooked dinner and served it with lunch. Now, both the actions of cooking and serving are in the same voice, same tense, and done by the same subject. So, we can keep it, she cooked the dinner and served it with love. We do not need another was, is, or serve. So, one verb structure works fine. No need to repeat the auxiliaries. Now, let's look at another example. When the action are not same, so both words must be complete. So, she cooked the dinner and was praised by her guests. Now, cooking the dinner and serving was done by the same person, but cooking the dinner and praising is not done by the same person. So, we need a was here. Okay, so first word cook, active voice. Second word was praised, passive voice. Here you cannot say she cooked the dinner and praised by her guests. It doesn't make sense. We'll have to use was because there is the subject. I mean, the doer are different in both the parts. The voice is different in both the parts. So each part of verb will require its own word. Okay, helping word. So you must write full in the second verb also. She cooked the dinner and was praised by her guests, and not just is like in this one. She cooked the dinner, served it with love. It will not need another was, because same doer, same form, same tense. But here the doer is different, the active passive voices are different. So we need word for both. Now let's again read the rule so we can understand it better. So when a sentence has two parts joined by and or but, and the verbs in both parts are different in form, sentence, form, tense, and number or voice, you must mention each word separately. Again, one word cannot work for both clauses if the word form are different. I hope now you understand. Okay. So if you have understood it, so I'm sure you can attempt these questions on your own. So pause the video and do it. So again, there'll be 3 slides. So I'll wait for 2-3 seconds at each slide. Please pause and do those questions on your own first, and then we attempt them together as we go. Okay, so we have just 5 questions for us. So we quickly go through these 5 questions so we can get to the number rule. So he did not and dash return yesterday. Now he did not and will not return yesterday. Okay. The king was crowned and dash with full honor, and was treated with full honor, because here the was crowd is there. So we have was treated, passive, the same voice in both the parts. She has not and dash accepted the offer. She has not and will not. No, she has not and did not accept it, and will not accept it. Who had not accept it. Okay, she has not. Here it should be accept the offer, and the option will be B. Will not. She has not accepted and will not accept the offer. So, okay, there is a little of an error in the statement. She has not accepted and will not accept the offer. Okay, she has not accepted should have been here in the first part. So the statement is she has not accepted and dash accept the offer, and will not accept the offer. That will be your question and answer. The patient was operated on and dash to the ICU. The patient was operated on and was shifted the ICU. He has applied for the post, but his friends dash not interested. But his friends are not interested. Yeah. Okay. So this is your solution and the explanation along with it. I hope you've understood. Now let's move to the rule 6. This is about inverted verb form. Now we were just looking at the simple straight verb forms, and now we will invert it also. We do everything, all gymnastics in the grammar today, because we're talking about verb, just this 4-letter verb. Oh my God, it used to be a terror, but not anymore. I mean, we will do so many examples now that you'll just understand. You'll look at it from every angle possible so that you can just understand it. Okay. So inverted verb forms. Usually in English, the subject comes before the verb. She sings well. So the subject comes before the verb. She is the subject, sings is the verb, she comes before sings. But sometimes we use inverted form of verbs. The verb comes before the subject. This happens in special cases. This has to be special. It's inverted after all. So when the sentence starts with an adverb, especially adverbs like so, hardly, scarcely, rarely, seldom, no sooner, never, etc. So in this case, we change the word order in this manner. Adverb, then auxiliary verb, then subject, and then main verb. So, for example, so quickly did she finish her work that we were surprised. Hardly had I reached the airport when the plane arrived. No sooner did she arrive than she started laughing. So you see here the verb form has been inverted. We see that the verb is coming before the subject, main subject. Okay, because the starting is with adverb. So this is all it is. Okay, just inverted verb form itself is quite simple to understand, that it is just inversion of what the normal is. Now let's understand with the help of some examples. She finished her work so quickly that we were surprised. So quickly is the adverb that comes first. Then we had an auxiliary verb, did, then the subject she, and then the main verb finish. So the final structure, so quickly did she finish that we were surprised. So when you see some statement starting with so, that is an adverb, you can understand that the inverted word is being used. So if something of that sort comes and some spot the error kind of question is there, you do not use the normal sentence logic. Okay. So again, I had hardly reached the airport when the plane arrived. This is how the normal sentence would go. But with the inversion, verb inversion, hardly comes first, then the auxiliary verb had, then the subject I, and then the main verb reached. Hardly had I reached the airport when the plane arrived. Okay, so this is the how the inversion verb logic works, inverted verb logic works. So in this, the subject comes before the verb. So this is how it is. And the identification starts with the adverb. Okay. Okay, so there is another part of it. When we are expressing a wish or a prayer, so we often start the sentence with may or long live followed by subject. Again, there, may you succeed in life. Here again, the word will come after the subject. May you succeed in life. Okay, may God bless you. You is coming at the end. Long live the king. The king is coming at the end. May peace prevail on. Okay. Okay, now let's do some practice question to better understand this rule. Dash had begun the show when the lights went on. Oh, sorry, you have to do it on your own first. So we will pause at this point. Pause. And again, pause. So no sooner had the show begun when the lights went off. You live a long and healthy life. May you live a long and healthy life. Dash had we stepped out when it started raining. No sooner had we stepped out when it started raining. Because again, so loudly the children sing that the neighbors complain. So loudly did the auxiliary verb did the children sing that the neighbors complained. Dash lived the queen. If you watched Game of Thrones, you'll anyway know this one. You don't even need the grammar. Long live the queen. Okay. Oh, wait. My first one is hardly. Hello, friends. Welcome to your Easy Guide to English section for CLAT examination series. And today we are going to continue with the previous topic, the one that we dealt with in the previous lecture, that is verb. Because the small 4-letter word is very important and it is a source of a lot of errors and hence one of the favorite topics of the examiner. So we have to look into it very, we also have to look into the nuances of this. So, since we have done most of the rules and the basics of the topic in our previous lecture, so if you have not watched it, I would request you that you watch the previous lecture before you get to this point, because otherwise you won't understand a lot of things, a lot of words, a lot of jargons that I'll be using here. So it's better that you first complete the previous lecture and then you get to this video, because again, like you can see, I'll be starting with rule 7. So we've done all the rules before this in the previous lecture. Okay. Okay, then let's start with the rule 7. Bond. James Bond, 007. Never mind. So, when to use the singular verb? In some special cases, even though it looks like we are talking about two things, but we actually may be referring to the singular thing, and hence the singular verb will be following it. What are these cases? First, certain set phrases and mathematical expressions. For example, 2 and 2 is 4. So here 2 and 2 is referring to 4. It is leading to that singular word 4. And hence the singular verb has been used here. So 2 and 2 is 4. 5 times 10 is 50 because we are reaching to the word 50, which is singular. One number, that is 50. So the singular verb will be used here. So while you might think that there are 5 times, it looks like plural, but be mindful that such mathematical expressions are always followed by a singular verb. The other category that we have to be mindful of is idiomatic pairs and expressions that are referring to one idea. For example, the aim and objective of the plan is success. So here the aim and objective, they are both referring to plan. So they are both components of one unit plan. So the verb will be following plan, because again, these look like two different units, but they are all attached part of that one unit plan. And hence the singular verb will be following it. Similarly, the sum and substance of the passage is clear. Here again, if you can just picture it, think of one round and then the two small rounds inside it, sum and the substance. So that one big circle passage has two small circles, sum and substance. So because that passage is one unit, no? So the singular verb will follow it. The sum and the substance of the passage is clear. Similarly, bread and butter is difficult to earn. Here, bread and butter refers to livelihood. So bread and butter is difficult to earn. Slow and steady wins the race. This though, even if you have not read the grammar, you come across this phrase so many times. Slow and steady, it's one idea. So slow and steady wins the race. The singular word wins will be used. So I hope it's clear. Now, if it is clear, then you should be able to do these questions. So I'll request you to pause the video at this point and attend these questions on your own, and then we'll together do these questions. Okay. So pause the video. Okay, I hope you've attempted the questions and you've managed to get the answers. Let's see. Okay, before we get to the solution, the first statement, the poet and philosopher dash honored by the academy. Here, the article the is only before poet and not philosopher. So this shows that the poet and the philosopher are being referred for the same person. So this is one person who is also a poet and a philosopher. And this one person is being honored by the academy. Because we are referring to just one person, then obviously a singular verb will be following it. So while you see the poet and philosopher, don't think there are two people, because there is just one the used before poet. If it were the poet and the philosopher, then it would have been two people. But the poet and philosopher, that means this one person embodying two qualities of a poet and a philosopher is honored by the academy or was honored by the academy. Okay. So singular verb will follow. So be mindful of that also. For example, the chairman and MD. So here the chairman and MD is same person. So again, singular verb will be following this phrase also. Okay. So if both the titles are referring to one person, the singular verb will follow. This is also one rule that you can think of. But again, it's very commonsensical also, if you can just understand the basics of subject verb agreement. Now the second question. The aim and object of this book dash to help students. Again, aim and object are leading us to this one singular book. So is to help students. Slow and steady, raise the race. I don't even need to explain this. My uncle, because obviously it's a single idea. I do need to explain this. My uncle and teacher dash coming to visit us today. So my uncle and teacher. So since my is only before uncle, my uncle and my teacher, it makes my uncle and my teacher two different people. But my uncle and teacher. So my uncle has also been my teacher. So he is coming to visit us today. So my uncle and teacher is coming to visit us today. Bread and butter kept on the shelf. So here, because we did in the previous example, bread and butter is kept on the shelf. Is it? Do you think that's correct? No, because bread and butter here are not like livelihood. These are two things, two objects. So bread and butter are kept on the shelf. Okay. Oh, 2 and 2 is 4. Because again, we did this mathematical expression followed by singular verb. 2 and 2 is 5 times 5 is 25. Again, mathematical expression which is leading us to that one singular number 25. So is, which is the singular verb. The sum and substance of the letter dash that he wants to design is, again, the sum and substance, both of these entities are about the letter. So we follow the singular verb that is after the letter. No man and no woman dash ready to speak up. Was ready to speak up or is ready to speak up, that is singular verb. Because here no man and women is being referred to universal idea. No man and women. It's not really one like individualizing man and women, but one idea of no man and women. Basically, nobody was ready to speak up. This is what this statement is implying. Okay. So this is it. Now, rule 8. When sentence begins with it, no matter what comes after the word, it should agree with it, which is always singular. So, this is simple enough. It is the stars that guide our destiny. Now, here, verb is has to always be in agreement with it. So, it is the stars that guide our destiny. So, even if the stars is in plural, if the statement is starting with it, you don't have to think of anything else. It will always have to be in agreement. I mean, the following verb will always have to be in agreement with it, which is singular. It is the children who bring joy to the house. So even though the word children is plural, but we have used the singular word is because when the statement starts with it, it has to follow with the verb which is in agreement with it, and hence is. It is the memories that make us smile. Again, despite memories being plural, the word is is following it because it has to be in agreement with it. It will always be followed by is, singular, despite the presence of plural after it. Okay, that is one thing that is simple enough and you used it enough so you can remember it. Now, the other part of it that you need to remember is that when the sentence starts with there or a question word like what or whom, in this case, the verb agrees with the subject that comes after the verb, okay, which is called the predicate or the complement. Let's understand this with an example. So, there was a boy in the class. Here, the subject is boy and the singular verb was used because the boy is singular. The subject boy is singular. So, the was is in agreement with boy. Unlike what was happening in it, the is was in agreement with it. But here the was is in agreement with the subject that is following the verb and not preceding it. Okay. Let's get the other example. There are many students outside. Here the verb is are because students are plural. So here are is in agreement with again the subject that is following it and not preceding it. That is students. So you also should remember that in the novel sentences, not starting with it, there, or a question word, the verb should not agree with the complement. It must agree with the subject only. So, okay, that's the normal case. But when there is a question or starting with there, that is the specific case, the verb has to be in agreement with the predicate part. Okay. So, based on these two rules of rule 8, we can solve these questions. Now, again, I'll pause for some time. You pause the video and do these questions on your own. Okay, let's see what these questions are. So, use the correct form of verb in each sentence. It dash the dog that barked all night. Again, it has to be followed by, the verb that is followed, that is to be following it has to be in agreement with it. So it is the dog that barked all night. There dash two books on the table. When a statement starts with there, then the verb will be following the subject of the predicate part. That is books, which is in plural. So there are two books on the table. There dash a pen and a notebook in the drawer. Again, starting with there. So the verb will follow the subject of the subject in the predicate part. Not the subject, the predicate actually. So there is a pen and a notebook in the drawer, or there was a pen and notebook in the drawer. Who dash responsible for this mess? Who is responsible for this mess? Again, this is a question. So it will follow the predicate part. The verb will follow the predicate part. That is, who is responsible for this mess? It dash the little things that matter. It is the little things that matter. It is the little things that matter in life. So you might have heard this statement otherwise also, but then it is so simple enough. I don't think you even have to know the grammatical rule. Instinctively, it is what gets to your mind. There dash no hope left after the storm. There was no hope because hope is, again, uncountable, so singular. What dash your plans for tomorrow? Again, the verb will be in agreement with plans. So what are your plans for tomorrow? It is they who raise the complaint. So this is it. Now, rule 9. So what does the rule 9 say? Sometimes, even if a noun looks plural or singular, you choose the verb based on what it means in the sentence and not the grammatical one. This is where the grammar is also like, why just get to the feel, get how it feels. So just try to vibe with the statement. So, for example, a large number of and the number of. So the phrase a large number of, it means many. So we treat it as plural. So a large number of students were absent because it means many students. So it's plural. So we will use the plural form of word, that is were. But when we say the number of, it means it is referring to one singular number. It could be like a non-single number. It could be 2, 3, 10, 20, 50, 100, but it's just one number. So because we're referring to one number, it's a singular concept and hence the singular verb will follow. So the number of students has decreased. So because say the number of students was 50, this is one number, no. So if it has decreased to say 45, again, it's one number, no. So the number of students has decreased because we're just referring to one number and not many things. So just remember the number of and a large number of. So there's a difference. So when you have to understand how a phrase has been used in the sentence, does it give a plural sense or does it give a singular sense? You use the verb accordingly. Now there are phrases Again, to just to give you an idea to understand how things are used and how you get a sense based on that. So words like variety, plenty, rest, a lot of, two-thirds, percentage, these words can again have contextual meaning, and hence they can the singular or the plural usage of the word can based on the context. For example, the phrase a lot of, when followed by an uncountable, like milk or work, uncountable subject. So we have a standard rule that the singular verb will follow. If it is followed by countable, like books, toys, plural verb will follow. Or with the phrase the rest of, again, countable, singular phrase will follow, uncountable, plural phrase will verb will follow. When it's basic. If you cannot count it, you just take it as one. If you can count it, then you know it can be plural. Then you obviously take it as plural, and hence the plural verb to follow. The phrase two-third of, book, singular. The phrase two-third of, people, you can count people, two-third of, like there are X number of people, two-third of it, you will have a number of. So you can count, will be a number of people in that field. Two-third of people would be a number of people. So plural. Percentage always takes a singular verb, always. 70% of students, plural, 70% of population, singular. So when it's written in number form, the word percentage will always take plural, singular verb, but when it is written in like this 70% of, in that numerical form, then again, if it states students, which is plural, and then population, it's a singular idea. 70% of population. Population is singular idea. It's not like you can think. People is not a singular idea, but population is a singular idea. Okay, remember that. Now, another thing is collective nouns. Very similar to the previous rules that we have done. When it is taking us to one unit or when it is referring to one unit, it will follow a singular verb. A set of books is missing. So this is one set of books. So it is giving one unit sense. So it is a set of books is missing. A bouquet of flowers is gifted. So bouquet is one unit. It has many flowers, but bouquet itself is one unit. So, sorry, a bouquet of flowers was gifted. So here again, singular verb. A pair of spectacles is broken. So this pair is this and this. Like both will be called a pair. So a pair of spectacles, we are referring to one spectacle because there are two glasses. So it's called a pair of spectacles, but we are referring to one spectacle. Basically one spectacle. So it's broken. So it will be followed by is. That is singular verb. So when you're referring to collective noun, that is if the unit is being referred rather than that individual component, then it will be followed by singular. So I hope you've understood this. It's fairly simple. If you just like get a sense of it, we'll be able to solve these questions. So quickly solve these questions and then we'll do that together. So I would urge you to pause the video at this. Okay, let's solve these questions. I think this is the last one. A large number of workers dash on the strike today. A large number of workers is like you can imagine, like many workers standing there are on strike today. The number of applications gone down. So the number of applications was 50, now it has become 45. So we're referring to one number. The number of application has gone down. A lot of students dash already gone home. A lot of students have already gone home. If you picture this statement, there are so many students have gone home. A lot of water dash wasted every day. You cannot count water, so you cannot take it as plural. So a lot of water is wasted every day. So is wasted every day. 2/3 of the field dash flooded, is flooded because field you cannot count. So is flooded. We have done this in the previous slides in the phrases one. 2/3 of the player dash into players. Again, there is a number of players, then 2/3 is again one numbers, and if you picture it, there will be many players standing in that picture. So 2/3 of the players, plural, are or were injured. The rest of the story is quite emotional because story is uncountable. You cannot count it. So it will be followed by singular. So the rest of the story is quite emotional. So with this, we have reached to our last slide. This is a list of some of the verbs that often confuse students because in the different forms, they sometimes change form, sometimes don't change form. So I would request you to have a look at it. Maybe pause the video at this point and look at these verbs, and so that you do not get confused when you're using them or when you come across questions that are using them. So here is a list that I've prepared. I think rather than we go through the whole list, you can just, it would be more efficient if you just pause at it and look at these words and try to understand what they are in their base form, past tense, and past participle. Okay, that this will help you in solving question also. Okay, so I'll just like get to the screen and I'll wait for some time so you can pause and have a look at it again. Pause and have a look at it. And with this, we have come to the end of this topic, that is work. And I would like to end this video with a very beautiful quote, that is, grammar is the logic of speech, even as the logic is the grammar of reason. So this is something that was very, it's a food for thought. So I would like to leave you with this food for thought. Just think about it if you're not too tired. So thank you so much. Thank you for your patience. I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye.